About the X99 TPM 2.0 modules, the biggest problem is the Chinese motherboards. So, every module I sold, I have tested it with my motherboard and made sure that everything works fine. But there is a problem that you need these two extra wires to reset the TPM module if you restart your computer. If you don't have these two wires and you restart your computer, the TPM module will not be detected. And in many cases, I had people reporting that they have restarted their computer and the TPM module is no longer detected. So there is some sort of a problem with the motherboard, which is supplying wrong voltage to the TPM module and just killing the IC on the TPM module. I had a couple of cases where customers bought one TPM module, then they restarted computer and TPM module went kaput. Then I have sent them a replacement, they did the same thing, and the TPM module died as well. In the worst case, I had a motherboard that killed 3 TPM modules in a row. Of course, I don't feel like telling people that, okay, you have killed the TPM module from your motherboard, I can do nothing about it. So I just send a replacement, and I have also made this very detailed guide page of how to use it, when it works, when it doesn't work. But people just don't read it, they come up with questions, they do stupid things, and the Chinese motherboards in many cases just kill these TPM 2.0 modules. I have to send a replacement, and then I end up losing lots of money. So all in all, with this adventure, making these kind of TPM modules with the help from BIOS engineer, I have lost about 500-600 euros, which someone could say is a worthwhile investment into development of my channel and supporting X99 community, but I just can't keep doing it, because if I sell something, I want to be confident that it's gonna work and people who buy from me will be happy and will be satisfied. That's why I spend so much time writing these guides, making videos, explaining what works, what doesn't work, and how you use it. But in the result, because we have so many unknown options, these Chinese motherboards just kill these X99 TPM 2.0 modules, and I just have to send a replacement for free. And in some cases, the replacement is killed instantly again, and the customer has to buy another motherboard for the TPM 2.0 to actually work on that motherboard. So I came up with an idea that we can actually repurpose Gigabyte TPM 2.0 modules that you can see on this screen. So I forced BIOS engineer to test a pinout of this Gigabyte module and develop this kind of an adapter. Soldering this adapter is much simpler than soldering these tiny components, especially this tiny IC. So if you have an X99 motherboard compatible with the TPM modules and you have LPC header on the motherboard, then you can use such kind of an adapter and just buy a ready-made TPM 2.0 module. In that case, if a module dies, you can just buy another one, and they are actually not that expensive on AliExpress. So for example, this one, I have got feedback from several people that this particular one works just fine, given that your motherboard actually supports TPM 2.0. Here the price is in Swedish crowns, but in euros it will be about 15-16 euros. This adapter, schematics for this adapter you can buy from BIOS Engineer Patreon page over here, and all the links to buy all the connectors is also available on his page. Here you can also see the detailed schematics, what goes in where. So this is much easier to make at home with a soldering iron rather than soldering entire TPM 2.0 module. Thus, I feel kind of okay to stop selling these modules and leave X99 community without TPM 2.0 support, because this solution is kind of okay for anyone who is handy, and maybe someone in countries like Brazil will just start making these adapters and sell them for people who want it. Personally, myself, I'm not going to sell them because I waste or spend way too much time answering questions and providing support to people when the problem is actually the motherboard, which is either killing this IC or simply does not work properly. What do we have in questions? I love your content, man. X99 all the way. Thanks for the support. X99 is still viable for the budget gaming computers and workstations, but definitely, or unfortunately, not all the way. Do you mention that there are a few different variants with the different pinouts? Oh yeah, there are lots of different pinouts for different TPM 2.0 modules. So if you are buying one for this connector, you need to make sure that this is a 12-pin LPC Gigabyte module like this one. They are available in different variations. This one was tested by a couple of my subscribers, and it actually works. Then on this picture is kind of simplified one with a shorter PCB and just a couple of components. Several people reported that this one actually didn't work, and I don't know why it didn't work, because the PCB is missing some components or because the IC was just dead. So that's just what I know. Did you get the dual socket Huanan board already with you? No, I think the question is about, let me try to find that motherboard. So I guess the question is about Huanan 3647 motherboard. Yeah, so I guess the question is about this motherboard. I have not yet received this motherboard. It is still somewhere in the customs. So next week I will try to figure out how much taxes they want from me and try to get it released from customs and then shipped to me. Okay, so I hope it's pretty clear with the X99 TPM 2.0 modules, and whenever people will ask me, I will just send a link to this live stream. And with these, let's move on to this little hidden gem hunt. So I had a couple of questions which I thought would be pretty easy. So the first question, it just says Latin, and no one could guess what it is, but basically what you had to do, you had to scan another QR code in the same video or in different videos, which would have a Latin quote, which says cogito ergo sum, and it means I think, therefore I am. And actually a couple people did answer this question correctly. Then I had a little bit of a fun. I had 69, and of course people started to go in the dirty route. I don't know why. This is not let's say channel for adults, it's channel about computers, so I thought it would be pretty easy to guess that this is a postcode. And I also had a couple of QR codes which would link to my page. Let me show, I have here a page for postcodes of Chinese X99 motherboards, and if we search for 69 over here, it clearly says it's a RAM error. No one answered this one correctly. Then the next one is a little bit of a quiz, which I also thought would be pretty simple. 4x2 DDR4. If you're familiar with the 2x4 or 4x4 numbering in cars for 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive, then you could guess that this is 4 memory slots but only 2 memory channels, and it's DDR4. It is greater than Mini ITX but smaller than M8X. Well, I thought it would be logical to say that this is the X99 PR9 motherboard from Machinist, and I also had a bunch of QR codes which would lead to the review of this motherboard, but again, apparently it was too hard and no one guessed it. And the last question was just a simple smiley of a cat. And again, I thought it would be very easy, and I also had lots of QR codes pointing to a video of my cat called Zion. And again, nobody guessed this question correctly. People wrote a bunch of nice things about cats, so here are actually all the answers I have got. So here people are happy about the cats, but no one actually guessed that it's cat Zion. All in all, only 2 people scored points in this little quiz. and they both scored 4 points out of 11 points. And one person from Poland says that they would like one of my X99 motherboards, and another person from Lithuania said that they are here just for fun. In any cases, I will write to both of you, and since I currently don't have any X99 motherboards to give away, we're gonna do it this way. You pick up a motherboard up to 100 euros on AliExpress. If this is a motherboard that I have not tested yet, I will first buy it with delivery to me. I will test it, I will make a review about it, and if you still want that motherboard after my review, then I will just ship it to you. If you pick a motherboard that I have already tested, then the motherboard will be shipped straight to you. Of course, I would appreciate if you pick a motherboard that I have not yet tested, so I could have some extra content for the channel. And in particular, I think this Qiyida might be interesting to test. They claim that they have TPM 2.0 interface support, and this is supposed to be MS LPC 14 pin. This MS LPC 14 pin, as far as I know, is MSI TPM 2.0 header. Over here it is. So it would be interesting to test this motherboard and see if TPM 2.0 actually works here, or this is just a typical Chinese advertisement nonsense, because I tried to contact the seller of the motherboard. I have tried to ask them, like, do you have TPM modules for this motherboard that I can buy together with the motherboard? And they have typical nonsense answers such as, friend, we have not tested TPM 2.0 header. So yeah, they advertise TPM 2.0 support, but whether it actually supports it or not, that's a big question. So let's see if we have any more questions. Are you living in Poland currently? If so, how are the import laws when buying from AliExpress in Poland? Maybe it's a question to Karti, not to me, because I live in Sweden, and whenever we are buying something from AliExpress, we have to pay 25% VAT. So if something, let's say, costs 100 euros, with 25% VAT, it will be 125 euros. And sometimes when the seller is not properly filling up the customs declaration, or the purchase amount is too high, then when the package is stuck at Swedish customs, and I also have to pay about 8 euros handling fee, and only after that the package is getting released. So let's see, where can I find the TPM 2.0 9-pin module for Machinist MR9A Pro to buy? Please watch this stream from the start. I have explained that I am no longer selling these modules, and where you can find one, I have absolutely no clue, because as far as I know, no one is making and selling them outside of Brazil. I know that in Brazil a couple of guys decided to make them and sell them, but I'm not sure how it's going for them. The hidden gem hunt we sorted out. I will email these two winners, and we will sort out what we do with the X99 motherboards. But in the future, if you see a QR code in my video, then don't hesitate to scan it, and maybe you will find another hidden gem somewhere, somehow. Now let's go to compatibility of X99 motherboards BIOS. Every now and then, or rather often, people are texting me, I have Machinist X99 PR9, like this one, but my chipset is this and you tested this. Is the BIOS compatible? Well, first of all, I have to disappoint you. Even if you have two identical motherboards, or motherboards that look identical, made in China, they have the same name, the same chipset, it gives you absolutely no guarantee that BIOS will be compatible between these two, because Chinese are updating internal components of the motherboard without prior notification, and it could be that if you try to cross-flash BIOS, it will just break one of the motherboards. But in general, when we are talking about BIOS compatibility, if you have the same motherboards, and they have a desktop chipset, So for example, what I mean by desktop, H81, C222, B85, this C224, Q85, like basically all chipsets for LJ1150 socket. We then also have got updated H97, Z97, and there was also a Q97 if I remember correctly. So BIOS for these chipsets is usually cross-compatible. So if I have tested my PR9 and I had BIOS for Q87, but you have got C224, most likely my BIOS is going to work with your motherboard. But if you are got this PR9H motherboard, this PR9H, and then they also have MR9H, they use mobile chipset. I don't actually know the names of all the mobile chipsets, but you can see it in CPU-Z. Let's see if they have any CPU-Z screenshots so we can see what the chipset is. But long story short, the desktop chipset BIOS is not compatible with the mobile chipset. And usually the mobile chipsets are very limited, and they do not have SATA 3 ports, and they don't have USB 2.0 ports. So, for example, here you can see on the back panel that all the USB ports are black, so there are no USB 3 ports, only USB 2 ports. But if we look at the standard PR9 motherboard, we can see that 2 of these are blue, means these are USB 3 ports. So this is a desktop chipset and PR9H is a mobile chipset. Thus, these two have incompatible BIOS with each other. And finally, we also have server chipsets, and the server chipsets are C612, this is server variation, and then X99 is basically the same chipset but renamed for consumers. So this one is Machinist X99 K9, and it could be delivered with the C612 chipset or with the X99 chipset, and BIOS for both is most likely the same. So again, you can cross-use BIOS within server chipsets, you can cross-use BIOS within desktop chipsets, and you can cross-use BIOS within mobile chipsets. But you cannot switch BIOS from a mobile chipset to desktop or to the server X99 chipset. I hope that's pretty clear, and I can just point people to this live stream when they come up with these questions. What's the best Chinese board for money overclocking on an unlocked Xeon? I would say that the best case is to not overclock unlocked Xeons, because that's just waste of time and waste of power and power supply and so on. But if you badly want to overclock, then I would say that the best one would be X99 MR9A Pro. This one. So you would have to buy BIOS from iEngineer with overclocking capabilities, because out of the box it does not have overclocking support, but it has a decent VRM and overall the quality is not too bad. So if you badly want to overclock, I would go this route. So let's see what we have more. Hello there, and hello there to you, of course. Your articulation skill is next level, never seen on YouTube for tech-related content, details and clear-cut explanation with a nice presentation. Well, thanks for that. Unfortunately, not many people appreciate that. Most people appreciate entertainment content instead of straight-to-the-point technical content with information which is actually useful, but it is what it is. I am not an entertainer, so yeah. Tell us your best joke, please. Best joke depends on what subject. I know lots of different jokes, but which one is the best? How do you know? Is sleep function still disabled on this X99 boards? Well, sleep function is basically a lottery. I have tested a couple of motherboards where I tested that sleep actually works, and then people are texting me, I have bought exactly the same motherboard, I have exactly the same BIOS as you have, and sleep mode doesn't work for me. And then I had the opposite experience. I have an X99 motherboard, I tested, I tried to figure out how to make sleep mode working, and it just doesn't work. And then people are texting me, oh, I have got the same motherboard, I have got the same BIOS, the same chipset, identical to yours, and sleep mode works for me. So I would say this is a lottery. If you want a motherboard for sleep functionality, then please just don't buy these Chinese motherboards, buy something which is working properly with the sleep mode. Any tips or something to look out in a server board? Just found a ThinkServer TD350 locally with a good price. Okay, let's see what is this TD350. For the server boards, this again really depends on what do you actually want from it, because there are so many different server scenarios. So I can't really give you a general recommendation because I don't know what you actually need. I see like this seems to be a nice server if you actually need this gigantic machine, but if this is just a motherboard, I would probably not bother, because you would need a custom power supply, a custom chassis. I can see here that it has PCI Express slots on top and PCI Express slots at the bottom of the I/O, so I would say it is not worth the hassle. But if you want something, then I just have tested this Gigabyte motherboard, which is pretty good as a server motherboard. So this Gigabyte AM4 board, B550 MC12 LE0. Let's skip this annoying YouTube ad, and then we can see the motherboard. So yeah, this board. With AM4, you have enough CPU power for basically anything. You can install here at least 128 gigs of RAM, ECC support, you have enough connectivity, so I would say for home server, this is one of the best options. Yeah, not counting on chassis, it's monstrous. But if you don't count on the chassis, I guess it's about this, then how do you use this motherboard? Like, it has a very proprietary layout with the proprietary power fan connectors, and then this, you also need this shroud for proper cooling of the CPU. Without chassis, I honestly would not bother with this motherboard. And speaking about weird motherboards, let me see if I can find that one, Super Micro LG3647. One moment of time they had, yeah, okay, so this one is a very interesting option. It has this prolonged mini ITX format. It is LG3647, so you can get something like a cheap Xeon Gold 6138 or 6148. You have 6 memory slots, so it's a lot lots of memory capacity. The problem is that these PCI Express things, they are not actually PCI Express slots. You need a PCI Express expansion card from Supermicro to get access to those PCI Express lanes. But if you don't need those PCI Express lanes, then you have here this SAS port, you have SATA, you have USB ports. So just for pure computation, this could be an interesting option. And the power connectors seems to be standard ATX, and you have M.2 slot. And the price is just 140 USDs for an LG3647 motherboard. I have an idea to try to buy this one and test it and maybe design a 3D printable chassis for this kind of motherboards, but I'm just afraid that it's not gonna work, or it's gonna be way too much hassle to extract these PCI Express lanes to get it usable. Hello from Hong Kong. Well, hello back from Sweden. I hope Hong Kong will be free from China. If I have a 4-channel RAM motherboard with the two 8GB RAM sticks and I want to upgrade to the RAM, do I need to buy two 8GB RAM sticks, or can I buy 216 RAM and still use their 4-channel? The short answer is yes, you can, but you need to understand that When you have different amount of RAM on a different channel, it means that you will get advantage of quad channel memory configuration until you fully populate RAM on one of the channels. So if you have 4 memory sticks, 2 of them are 8 gigs and 2 of them are 16 gigs. You can still use all the memory and you will get advantage from the quad memory channel until the 8 gig memory sticks are fully occupied. Once the 8 gigs memory sticks are fully occupied, you still have 16 gigs from the extra 16 gigs memory modules, but these are available only on 2 channels. So you will see like a performance degradation, and that might be pretty annoying, especially in gaming when your 1% lows will start to dip due to this performance degradation. But in general, yeah, you can do that. What software do you use to 3D model cases? I am not a 3D modeler and I just know basics, and because I'm trying to be nice and not to pirate anything and actually follow license agreement, I am trying to learn FreeCAD. I know that Fusion 360 has a free edition, but if you read the license agreement, it says that you are not allowed to use Fusion 360 for commercial purposes. That means that if I design a chassis, I'm not allowed to sell it. I'm not allowed to anyhow financially benefit from this work if I use the free version of Fusion 360. I know that many people just ignore these and use free version of Fusion 360 for their commercial work, but I'm trying to be nice and just using FreeCAD, which is free for everything. 4 by 8 gigs against 2 by 16 gigs in dual channel X99 board. Any much performance difference in percentages? Well, if you have a dual channel motherboard, for example, like the one we have already checked, this X99 PR9, it has 4 memory slots, but it has only 2 memory channels. In this case, if you have 2 16 gigs memory sticks or 4 8 gig memory sticks, the performance will be identical or next to identical. It depends on what kind of memory you use, but in general it will be identical. And I would say that 2 16 gigs are better because you always have option to add more RAM, and usually when you have just 1 memory stick per channel, it is easier on the CPU and it is also booting a bit faster. So if your motherboard is limited to just 2 memory channels, I would go with the 2 by 16. So I guess all the questions covered, all the topics I wanted to cover are also covered. My cat is screaming and demanding me to go back and give him some attention. So I will finish up here unless people have some more questions. TPM work on Ryzen 4070. I'm sorry, but I don't quite follow. What is Ryzen 4070? Ryzen 4070, what that is? I have not heard of a Ryzen 4070. Well, unless this is a typo, because as far as I know, 4070 is an NVIDIA graphics card and Ryzen 4070 doesn't exist. Do you know if there is a way to adapt the power supply for an ATX one? I guess server boards come with a lot of cons without all the package. Again, this really depends on what server board you are talking about. Let me open eBay and I will just show you a couple of things. So let's search for Intel S2600 3647 motherboard. So for example, this motherboard will probably give you lots of headache because it uses custom format. I can't really see how you connect power here. Like here is a custom power connector, here are probably power supplies where they're sliding in. So this will give you lots of headache. But at the same time, here is a standard Supermicro motherboard, which is a server motherboard. It has a slightly larger layout than usual. It is extended ATX, but at the same time it has all the standard power supply connectors. It also has holes in almost standard locations, so if your chassis is missing a couple of holes, you can just add a plastic standoffs. It will not be mounted to the backplate, but it will also not bounce and break. So it really depends on what server motherboard you're talking about and what you are buying. In some cases you get lots of headache, in other cases it just works. Let's see, a couple more questions came here. You should try using SolidWorks. It's way simpler to use, but it's really expensive. Well, if I would earn from designing 3D models, then yes, I'm fine to pay for the software I'm using. But if this is just my hobby and maybe I will earn like 5 USD or 10 USD here and there from my work, I cannot justify paying for SolidWorks no matter how good it is. The same applies to the Adobe software. People are constantly asking me, can you please benchmark Adobe Premiere or Adobe Photoshop with these X99 Xeons? I wish I could, but did you see how much Adobe is asking for this software? I don't use it to make money, so I cannot afford buying it to run these benchmarks. On the other hand, the price is really good. If I convert it directly, it would be like 80 USD for the board. Well, if you're looking for an 2011 version 3 motherboard, there are lots of different options which are not that expensive, and you can buy entire server or entire motherboard, like for example this one. I need to see if this is actually a working one. Yeah, it is used, so it is working. It seems to have a standard format. We have standard 24 pin, here we have two standard 8 pins. Yeah, like here you have it. The motherboard has very limited PCI Express connectivity, it's just one PCI Express X8, but if you just need some computations, this is like 50 bucks. I have also seen a couple of other options for very interesting price. You just need to search, like for example this one is brand new, and the shipping price here is ridiculous. They are asking no, it's actually not too bad at 65 USD, but if you live in UK it will be much cheaper. And if you're looking to buy entire machine, then just look at Dell T5810. These ones, you can see you get entire machine with a power supply, and sometimes with some junk CPU, and sometimes with some SSD and memory for less than 200 USD. Like if you need a server, this is one of the best options. If you want a dual socket, then look at 7810. These ones are a bit more expensive and a bit harder to find, but still, like this one is 400 USD, and I don't know, like I would not buy just the motherboard. If you really want, just buy entire machine and you get much better value. Let's see what we have here. So for now, what is the best X99 Chinese motherboard for E5 26ATV4? Yeah, this is another question which doesn't really have a straightforward answer. The best in terms of what? If you're looking to cut costs as much as possible, then I would just go with this minimalistic X99 PR9H, or better the regular PR9, which has USB 3 and SATA 3 ports. With the E5 26ATV4 it will be just fine. At the same time, if you want something a bit better, then I would say, let me see where I have that search result. This one, MR9A and MR9A Pro, these are still, as far as I know, the best quality and the best connectivity motherboards. So depends what you want and how much you want to pay for it. Let's see, if I remember correctly, you have mentioned earlier 16 GB sticks always has 16 banks, so no issue in X99, right? Yes and no. In most cases 16 GB memory sticks have 16 banks, and they are compatible with the X99 motherboards. But lately we are having higher memory density chips, and Chinese are starting to make 16 GB memory sticks with just 8 banks. So it is still possible to get compatibility issues Thus, I recommend to use ECC registered memory, which works regardless of number of banks on your memory module. What do you think about RX590 from Mogul? Let's see what that is. RX590. I guess AliExpress will find it. This one is Maxsoon. Let's see. How do we spell this? Mogul. I guess this is some other AliExpress store. Well, what do I think about it? Like, most likely this is just repurposed RX 590 GPU die from some mining hardware or from a failed graphics card, just slapped onto a new board. And if I look at the cooler here, we can see that this cooler over here looks to be like a solid chunk of aluminum instead of a thin stack. So the cooling probably not gonna be the best, but at the same time 590 is not a very power hungry GPU, so might be fine. As always, this is a lottery. Whenever or whatever you buy from AliExpress, it's a lottery. You may be lucky and get a decent item, and you may be unlucky and get total crap. I have MR9A Pro. Do you have TPM for it? Please watch this stream from the beginning. I have answered this question. If we choose ECC RAM, then can we go with 8GB as well without thinking about banks? Yes, if you have ECC registered memory and you want to use it with these Chinese X99 motherboards, if you have it in ECC reg format, then just make sure that your memory sticks are identical or at least similar enough, and they will work. You don't need to worry about the number of banks on your module. So someone is really impatient about MR9A Pro and TPM for it. I'm sorry, but I don't have it, and I don't think I will ever have it. But for longer answer, watch this stream from the beginning, please. Okay, I guess that's gonna be it. Thanks everyone for joining. For the next week, I'm planning to make a video about Intel S2600 ST motherboard. Not this one, but another one. Let me try to find. Yeah, I have got like this. No, it's not this one. I have got LG3647 dual socket from Intel. Yeah, like this one, with the 2 Xeon 6148. So I hope it will be interesting, and I hope I will have enough time to finish and polish the video. And with this, thanks for tuning in. I hope to see you next week. Have a good evening, and bye for now.